Welcome to the Hidden Chest, a spoiler-free showcase of overlooked and/or underrated games. And here's a shocking revelation for you. I'm a pretty big fan of underdogs. Yes, I know. I bring this up because I don't think any word better describes the RPG gem that is Underhero. Not only is the game itself an underdog, but it stars one and is made by them. Let me drop a bit of context. This game's story isn't terribly original or anything. Magical destiny, a sword of legend, a cycle of good versus evil over countless generations. A new hero rises every time to face the darkness. Blah blah, you've heard it 1,000 times before. Really, it's kind of predictable in how just kidding, he's dead. Well, you gotta make do, I guess. A nearby underling receives the Sword of Legend and Underhero begins in full. That's right, in this game you play as a dime-a-dozen mook in the evil King Stitch's diabolical army, following orders while secretly murking fellow minions in the background. You know, so you can level up and save the day or whatever. It's a pretty simple setup. Or so you would think. So, this is a video game, right? What exactly do you do in it? Well, buckle up, kiddies, because I'm about to give you a crash course in this game's combat. Spoiler alert, it's really flippin' fresh. This game is what I like to call a Mario RPG-like. Or MARPG for short, an on-the-rise RPG subgenre that takes heavy inspiration from games like Paper Mario and Mario & Luigi. And while yes, these inspirations are very apparent, I still don't think I've ever seen a battle system quite like Underhero's. You see, this game doesn't have turns in any conventional way. Rather, you have stamina. You know, that green gooey stuff that leaks out of your pores when you exert yourself for more than 5 seconds. And no, I don't need to see a doctor about it. Get off my back, Mom. Anyways, attacking reduces the stuff, while dodging and passive regeneration raises it back up again. You know how this kind of thing works. Just manage it wisely and you'll be fine. Spam even a little bit and you'll be left vulnerable. Though not spamming can be a bit difficult when attacking is just so dang fun. You have 3 main methods of attack: your quick and simple sword, your ranged slingshot, and of course the slow and heavy hammer. Each one is a blast to use, and the impact of every hit is an extremely gratifying cacophony of sound design and particle effects. Even better is that, similar to Mother 3, there's a rhythm mechanic. Yes, really. Instead of critical hits, the combat system rewards you for striking enemies within the beat of the music, and nailing the timing for these feels oh so good. But the fun doesn't stop there. Playing defensively relies on looking for tells and learning enemy attack patterns combined with jumping, ducking, or doing whatever it takes to avoid damage. You even have a shield you can use. Sure, you have to repair it occasionally, but it can completely negate damage, be used while you're out of stamina, or, if you're really good, perform a devastating parry. Parries negate shield damage, refill your stamina, and stun the enemy. Oh my god, this mechanic alone is really emblematic of the core appeals of this game's combat. 1, it's all extremely satisfying to pull off. 2, it requires learning and mastering the enemy to do it. And 3, there's a massive factor of risk and reward. Do you want to try pulling off a dope parry and risk getting hit? Or do you want to just hold the shield out or dodge just to be safe? Either way, you risk damaging yourself or your shield. You have enough stamina and time until the next enemy's attack to use your hammer. Should you hold out your sword to try and get a rhythm attack, or swipe immediately so you don't get caught off guard? And now you have an ultimate rush mode, what? Do you spam it for guaranteed damage, or do you go slow and steady to rack up a deadly combo? At the risk of, you know, messing up and wasting it. It's all risky, but when you pull this kind of stuff off, it just feels perfect. Oh yeah, I forgot. I suck. These fights are majestically designed, I cannot reiterate this enough. But even with all those mechanics in mind, there's still one important aspect of your character that I've yet to mention. You're an enemy, a mook, an underling, which means you can just go up to other baddies and, talk to them. They don't know you're secretly undermining the Stitch Empire, so oftentimes they can give you great hints, tips, lore tidbits, or maybe just some charming and funny banter. Heck, if you want, you can even use money to bribe almost every person you face. What is this? Congress? You should probably use this feature if you want to bail on a fight, since you can't actually run away in this game. Also, if the guy you're fighting was actually really nice to you when you talk to them so you don't feel like crap for murdering them in cold blood. You do still get experience by doing this, but money is also pretty important for buying upgrades. Really, it's up to you. And, yeah, that's finally everything I have to say about the gameplay during combat. But that begs the question, what about the gameplay of, everything else? Well, I think it's pretty alright. Underhero isn't just an RPG, it's also a 2D platformer to an extent. There are lots of precarious jumps to make, races to partake in, and even a few mini-games. Also, you can glide with your emo hoodie. But, and I hate to say it, when it comes to controls and platforming mechanics, it clearly wasn't as much of a priority as the RPG elements. It's kinda like a simple, yet delicious, spice on top of the meat that is the actual combat. Regardless though, even though it's a bit stiff, it's still really fun to jump around the world, solve puzzles, look for treasure, and even just talk to folks. And talk to folks you will definitely do. Aside from an extremely engaging story that tosses all your preconceptions about video games in the toilet that I'm obligated not to go in depth about due to my vow against spoilers, this game has so much dialogue. And I mean that in a very good way. It's not like the kind of exposition that goes on for too long and takes itself too seriously, while constantly interrupting you and ruining the flow of the game. It's a lot more like a Paper Mario title. There's a hub filled with tons of people to talk to that progresses over the course of the game, and almost all the NPCs can actually be talked to more than once for even more banter. Add that to the fact that, like I mentioned before, you can talk to the people you fight, and that's a lot of content. Even your sword, Elizabeth IV, has tips for every enemy you face and something to say about literally every room in the game, not dissimilar to certain Goomba companions you're probably fond of. And all of this is just shockingly well written, charming, and more often than not, super funny. Not every joke lands, obviously, but this game made me laugh out loud on a great many occasions, which shockingly isn't something I can say very often. It's pretty clear that with this, and really with the game in its entirety, that the developers at Paper Castle Games put an extreme amount of passion into Underhero, and it shines through every inch and crevice of this wonderful experience. Even though it isn't quite as polished in certain areas. You may remember at the beginning of this video, I said that this game is made by underdogs, but like, aren't all indie games technically made by underdogs? Well, the thing about Paper Castle Games is that it's kind of especially that. You see, back in the day, the developers started an Indiegogo campaign for Underhero and, well... Now, aside from the fact that this proves humanity is a lost cause and art is dead, yada yada yada, it also shows just how limited this game's budget is. The fact that these people muscled past the Indiegogo failure and found a way to get this 15-hour-long RPG epic funded and built anyways is certainly commendable. Not to mention the fact that this was made in a country that isn't exactly politically stable. Unfortunately, though, this lack of budget does shine through on occasion, especially in regards to stuff I presume they programmed early on. For example, World 1 is pretty dang basic compared to the rest of the game. There's a big lack of notable unique set pieces and variety, with the entire thing taking place in a generic plane, a generic cave, or the inside of a generic tree. Putting this up against the polish and diversity found within later worlds is like night and day. The outdoor areas are especially odd, considering that it seems like it was one of the first places they made in development, but from what I can tell, it hasn't been changed from its extremely basic early design since then. I mean, despite the background implying otherwise, there isn't a single slope in this entire opening area, and a lot of it seems like it was put together with no rhyme or reason. It's frankly super uninteresting. Aside from that, though, there are just some weird visual quirks that seem pretty cheap when compared to the rest of the experience. Like how you just kinda blip into the hub elevator, or how confetti from the level up screen doesn't fade away like it should, but rather abruptly yoinks out of existence. These spikes that aren't attached to anything are frankly really ugly. Also in this race segment, I got the same line of dialogue yelled at me 4 times in a row over the course of 2 minutes. This stuff is obviously very minor and doesn't affect the extremely fun gameplay and writing, but still, it feels kinda sloppy. There's an interesting tidbit about Underhero, though. It has an exponential growth in quality. Like literally, look at this chart.
Mathematical!
Chapter 2 is already a huge step up from Chapter 1, with only some minor blemishes here and there. And then Chapter 3 onwards keeps building up to such a massive extent that it leads to, and I'm not exaggerating here, one of the most balls-to-the-wall insane endgames I've seen in years. Like, I can't even hint at what it entails, but like, take my word for it, it's worth the price of admission on that merit alone. It's some of the best content indie gaming has to offer, I'm not kidding. That's kind of a problem with my format though, huh? I'm trying to convince you to buy this game, but I can only show you the lesser parts of it. Huh. I can only wish that they had the time and money to apply some of that later game polish to the earlier areas. But hey, it happens. My only real gripe past World 2 is that the final area practically begs you not to engage with the game's best mechanics. It thematically makes sense at the time, but also there could have been some good workarounds for it. Look, I can't actually talk about it, just play the game for yourself, alright? To that end, and with all the mechanics and stuff over and done with, I just want to reiterate how charming and fun this game is and how it's absolutely worth your time. Like, bear with me, I'm just gonna gush now. The music is stunning, and you can collect cassette tapes of every song so you can play them in the game's save hubs. These save hubs are so banal in their jobbishness that it's hilarious. You gotta clock in to save, and you can drink coffee to heal your health, it's great. There's this moth character with multiple personalities, and when he swaps between them, the music changes with him. There's a bar in the hub that serves literally no purpose other than giving you more people to talk to, and it even includes a minion union, which is hilarious, don't be a scab. There's a random quiz show in another dimension, as is tradition. You can find a secret room somewhere that shows off fan art and fan-made music remixes. Look at this trailer, they made a freaking Stitches puppet for it, that's adorable. The bosses are dope, the sprite work is cute as heck. There's tons of lore to discover, tons of characters to love, and tons of challenge in the battle system. This game doesn't just ooze charm, this is like the blob of charm. After all, why ooze it out when you're just a giant heaping mass of the stuff? Thank you for listening to my slime analogy presentation. Like, comment, and subscribe. Support me on Patreon. Good day, sir.